Hello, I'm Lэрri Filbruk. I work with the Institute of Cultural Affairs, and I do work in organizational change, community development, and facilitator training. I've been asked to share a few stories in order to understand the kind of work that I do and the kind of work I've been doing. My background, I started my work in facilitation in communities, first in the United States and then in Africa. Then in India, then in Africa, then the Philippines, Malaysia, and the last 27 years here in Taiwan. I began working doing community-based development and planning, and that was how our methodologies were developed. We're in communities all over the world. But then beginning in 1986, I began spending more of my time in the corporate sector. So I continue to spend about half of my time in the corporate, about half of my time in the community sector. I've worked with multinational companies. I work with local companies. I work with government organizations. I train facilitators. I do planning. I do organizational change over long periods of time. To give a couple of examples, in villages, I've done work when I was in India and in Kenya. We did large-scale community development projects where we were working with several hundred communities, training village leaders and doing their own planning and their own development. With multinationals, I've worked with companies most of my clients are multi-year relationships. And so what that means is I begin the relationship with them developing processes and programs, integrating with what they already have, but also bringing in our own work because we train and certify facilitators, but I've also been trained in several other methodologies besides our own. And I've been working with things, for example, like appreciative inquiry for more than 30 years, and with open space for more than 20 years. I've worked with companies across the world. A current project that I'm working on is in China with a multinational company, with their board, on their vision and values of their organization and how they can then integrate that into their organization. This is an organization that has been very successful and continues to be very successful, but recognizes that for the leadership to work together, they have to deepen their own ability to talk to each other, their ability to work with each other, and their ability to work with their own teams. So that's what we've been working on for the last couple of years. I've been working with the United Nations for the last 9 years on appreciative leadership, working with their people all over the world, but to help them with understanding the concepts of appreciative leadership, but also practicing those and tracking with them how that looks like in their own organization and operation. These are highly skilled leadership and teams who often are in a place where they're trying to figure out how they can be more effective leaders, realizing that as their role changes, they also need to change their style. Another company that I've worked with for the last several years here in Taiwan and in China and in Japan is a German multinational, where I was working with them both to integrate their systems across Greater China so that they could learn to work together and play together more effectively, and also for the leadership itself to shift their style from the traditional style into a more innovative and more flexible style across their practice. So I continue to train and work with facilitators. I've trained facilitators in over 40 countries, and I continue to go back and retrain and add to and continue to develop, because I believe that each person is on a journey and that our task is to support that journey. So my task then is to help that. In terms of my recognition, I'm what's called a CPF, which is a certified professional facilitator through the IAF, the International Association of Facilitators. I'm also a CTF, a certified top facilitator and assessor of facilitators for ICA's own facilitation methodology. I'm a member of the IAF Hall of Fame. This is for me one of the key important things in my life, is to see how I can work with organizations to continue to develop myself, but also to develop them. So I look forward to seeing you next month.